How's it going? It's Ethan here at etrailer.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Yakima JetStream Roof Rack system on our 2022 Ford Edge. With the Edge here, we don't have any sort of raised rails, any sort of flush rails, but if we do want to get anything longer or larger, like rooftop accessories, whether that be kayaks, roof boxes, baskets, ski and snowboard carriers, anything like that up onto our roof, we're first going to need a roof rack system. So the process for getting it on this roof can be a little bit tricky, but we'll walk you through that when we get to the install section. This is just going to be a look at how that system fits on this car. First thing we'll notice are these crossbars. So on the top here, we can see that we do have this rubberized strip that goes all the way along the top. We can use this channel for our T-track accessories, and we don't have to trim this up to fit those in, which is really nice. On the front here, we can take a closer look at the shape of the crossbars. They're called the JetStream. That's for that aerodynamic design. So that taper from front to back is going to help cut down on wind noise and drag and maintain a nice fuel efficiency along the way. We're working here with our 60-inch crossbars, which I think are actually a really nice fit. We don't extend past the width of the vehicle. It might be to the point where getting in and out, if you're taller, you might hit your head on the side, but I think if we go any wider, that would be more of a problem. For now, I think it's a really good size and a solid fit. As far as how much height you're going to be adding onto your vehicle overall, it's really low profile, so it's not going to be too bad. Keeping in mind, though, that as you start loading up rooftop accessories, that number is going to change. So from the end here, we're going to be adding close to 5 inches, but as we get more towards the middle, that number is going to go down to more like 4 1/4. So that's how much height you're going to be adding if you're worried about storing these in your garage when you're not using them. As far as that overhang we mentioned on the last section, just in case you wanted to get an idea of how much we're going to be sticking out, from either side it's going to be about 6 inches. Again, I think that's a really nice width overall. Not going to be super worried about hitting my head, but we can use this overhang as well as the rest of the crossbars to mount clamp accessories for our rooftop items. And we have tons of room from the roof to do so, so I'm not going to be worried about those clamps making contact with my roof. As it stands, this roof rack is designed for 165 pounds worth of weight capacity, keeping in mind that your roof also has a different weight rating, so make sure you check the owner's manual to find out what that is. Go by the lowest rated component just to be safe. 165 pounds should be plenty. That's pretty much the standard as far as roof rack accessories typically go anyway. Also, we do have a nice aluminum design, so they're lightweight, easy to work with that black powder coat finish, so they're going to be really durable. You're going to have them up on your roof in the elements, so it's nice to know that they're made really well and they're going to hold up. Coming down below our crossbars now, we'll take a look at our towers. Right here is where you can upgrade to metal lock cores, which I would definitely recommend. You can lock those up to keep these end caps on in place, and then no one can get in here and look at this hardware and just loosen things up and take it out because there's no security keys inside. But this system is nice because you can adjust the pitch and the toe settings to accommodate different areas of different types of roofs. In our case, it was actually pretty simple, but it is a really nice option to know that it's there if you need it. On the bottom of our towers, you can see these pads here and how well they fit along this ridge on the inside of our roof. So it's really nice, it's custom fit, and it's designed for this roof specifically. Here are our clamps. You can see that we still do have the option to open up our door if we want to. It's not going to interfere with opening or closing the door at all because it is designed, again, to fit this car. Overall, as far as the install goes for this roof rack system, it can be a little bit daunting at first. There are a handful of measurements, there's a lot of numbers, they can be a little bit confusing, but if you take your time, lay it out, and understand what each of those measurements and numbers are and what they correspond to, it's actually really easy and it's really nice. It fits our system here really well. So you can take a look at how we did that right now. We'll walk you through it. For the install, the first thing we like to do is set everything out, make sure we have everything that we're going to need and that we know what it is. So we have our 2 crossbars, we have our towers, we have the base and the adapters as well. We have our end caps for the towers, which you might have to remove. We have the tool that's provided. We have our fit kits respectively with the front and the rear. The front is going to be 102, the rear is going to be 139. So make sure, like I said, you have everything that you need, and we'll get started. So to remove the end cap, just need to pop the face off. Next thing, you see this security tab right here, this gray tab. Pull that out. You'll see that gives us access to this bolt down here. So we want to pull that out till it clicks. The next step is we're going to put this seat in, just like this. That will also snap into place. Now we'll put our adapter on to that bolt that we just exposed to the bottom. Slide that onto the bolt there, flip it upside down, and now that we have that exposed in this channel here, we'll use the provided tool to tighten this down. We want this base at the top here to be level with the seat. So as soon as this metal plate is level with the seat here, then you should be good to go. You're going to repeat that process for the next 4 towers, and then our next step will be to prepare our crossbars. So if you have the rubber strip in the channel underneath, your first step is going to be removing that. In our case, we do not. So our next step will be taking this end cap off so that we can prepare it again for our towers. So you just kind of lift up on this tab underneath here until the end cap comes off. And now because you've already lined up our plate underneath, everything should slide in underneath super easily. And if it doesn't, we might just need to loosen that up just a little bit. And now we'll slide on, and again we'll repeat that process for the next 3. From here we're going to set our M1 measurement, which is our front crossbar. It's going to be the inner edge of the driver's side tower to the inner edge of the passenger side tower. That's going to be M1, and we're going to look for 41 1/8. So you see we have this ruler underneath our tower. We're going to go for 41 1/8, just like right there. And then next we'll be setting our pitch setting. For our P1 setting, or our pitch, we want to make sure that the security door still is let open so we have access to that bolt. And we're going to go A, B, or C. In our case, ours is B, so it's right in the middle. So we'll get that bolt lined up in the middle and tighten that down. We want to make sure we go until we hear that tool click. So it's got its own torque spec built into the tool, and once we hear that, we're good to go. We're going to repeat that process using the same measurements on the other side of the same crossbar. So 41 1/2 here for our M1 measurement. Line this bolt up in the middle for our pitch. Get that on B. Tighten it down until we hear that click in the tool. Just like that. We're going to do a similar process now on our rear crossbar. So we're going to look for our M3 measurement, which is going to be 39 7/8. So we'll slide our tower to about where we need to be, and our pitch, our P2 measurement is also going to be B. So again, we're going to line this bolt here in the middle up with B, which is also in the middle, and then tighten that down, and we'll also repeat this process on the other side. Our next step is to put the bases on our towers. So you see we have this arrow here. In our case, we want to make sure that that is facing outward. So all we need to do is line this up, and you'll hear it click into place. And we'll repeat this process for the remaining 3 towers. Our next step on our front crossbar will be to set our toe setting, or T1. In this case, it's 2, which means that this needs to be in the middle here. In our case, it already is, and if you are installing this for this vehicle, you shouldn't need to move it. But in the event that you do, or we do on the rear crossbar, we'll need to loosen this bolt up here, adjust this notch accordingly, and then tighten it back down. For our install, all of the toe settings for the rear and the front crossbars are all at 2, which is right in the middle. So we don't really have to change much, just make sure that they're all the notches for the toe settings are at 2 in the middle section. Tighten those down, and we'll close our security tabs on each of the crossbars and the towers, and now we'll get the front crossbars loaded up. Getting the front crossbar loaded up is pretty straightforward. Now that they have the pads on the bottom, they should protect your roof a little bit. Just be careful. Set the other side roughly in place where we need it to be, and then we'll come back with our M2 measurement and line things up. For that measurement, we have our provided fabric tape measure. We're going to measure from the front of the base to the painted corner here before we have on the windshield. We want that number to be 14 inches. So we need to slide our base down just a little bit. And right around here looks pretty good. Maybe just back here a fraction of an inch. And then we'll go to the other side, get the same measurement, and match those up. After we get our front crossbar set up, we'll need to grab our fit kit, or the clips that we need to fit it in place. So they're the smaller ones, or the 102s in our case. To get our clips on, first we need to open our door because our clips are going to mount to the inside. Right here, we'll open up the security door, exposing this bolt here. Slide the clip up underneath into that slot. Once the clip is in, we want to tighten down this swing bolt here. You'll see the clip start to lower. We want to turn that until we get it underneath where we want it to make contact with the inside of the car here. Same thing kind of with this drive bolt. In our case, we're already pretty flush, but we just want to tighten that until we get that to a point where we're comfortable with how it's making contact with the inside of the car here. Now we'll get our rear crossbar set up. I didn't mention this for the first one, but it should be at least common knowledge at this point, hopefully, that the rounded part goes in the front and the taper goes at the end. But same process, because we have those pads, it should protect our roof a little bit. We'll get it roughly set in place, and then we'll come back with our M4 measurement to make sure that we have everything in line. For our M4 measurement, we want to go from the leading edge of one of the crossbars to the leading edge of the other one, and we want that number to be 32 inches. So from the leading edge of the front crossbar to the rear crossbar, 32 inches. That right there looks pretty good, so we'll get that same measurement on the other side. Now we're going to get our rear clamps set up. These are going to be the longer ones or the 139s. So get those in place on our rear crossbars. Don't forget to open your door first, but from here it's going to be essentially the same exact process as with the front clips. Just line these up. If we're a little bit far away here, we're going to need to tighten down the swing bolt, and then we'll tighten everything else up with the drive bolt. But once we get to this point, like I mentioned, it is just about the same process as the front. From here, we should be ready to go. Just make sure that you go double check all of your connections, make sure that everything is tight, give it the shake test, and make sure that nothing is loose or out of place. And then your last step is just going to be to replace our end caps. Just feed them in from the bottom first, snap those into place. Same thing with the crossbars, just replace the end caps. Do this for all four sides, and that's it for the install. Overall, the Yakima JetStream Roof Rack system is one of my favorite just because of the adjustability and versatility that it offers. With the towers we have in place, you can get a couple of different crossbar shapes and sizes on there as long as you get their corresponding adapters. If you have a really aggressive roof shape or style, you can accommodate that too with the pitch and toe settings. We got kind of lucky with our vehicle here. We didn't have to change a whole lot with that, as you saw in the install if you wanted to figure out how to work with your vehicle. But the overall design, the functionality, the build quality of the system is one of my favorites. Again, you can use it with a ton of different rooftop accessories. So again, this was just a quick look at the Yakima JetStream Roof Rack system, how it works, how it fits, and how to install it on our 2022 Ford Edge.